Hi everyone, welcome to Building Shibumi, our YouTube channel. Progress has slowed back a little tiny bit while we do lots of getting things organised for when the weather. We've some very bad wind and a bit of rain coming at the moment, so we're not really able to get a chance to do much on the boat. So a few things that have happened, and I will explain them all in a second once I get the camera where I need it to do. So in building something like Shibumi, see here we have a lot of angle grinders. There's quite a few of them we've gone through over the years. Some of them actually got stolen at one point, but we replaced them all and then we've subsequently worn them out, and I've managed to get from a company in England genuine Makita parts, and these three grinders, which no longer worked, are now fully operational and literally have motors like new arbors, or bearings in some cases, and cogs, as you can see there. You can see the little teeth broken in it, and the pinion drive, and actual coils. So this is a 5-inch heavy duty one. I have it since 08. It died sometime in 10. It's been sitting there for years. A couple of €100 worth of a grinder is now fixed and working perfectly, and these are a standard. We've 3 or 4 of these in total, and we've a few cheapies as well. So a whole day spent putting those back together, and they're all working fine, and will go back into use for grinding and cutting and polishing and all the various jobs we need to do. So the other thing we had was that years ago I had this. I've been actually spraying the whole interior of the boat with that little guy there, going flat out. That compressor's working fine. But this one is one I bought years ago, and it had a very bad design on the one. I just moved this. It had a single wheel underneath, which drove us mad and used to keep falling over. We've since updated it with a brand new axle and 2 wheels, but the regulator got broken off, and that pipe there for the air gauge for the switching on and off control got broken. So we've managed to source all the parts, some locally in Industrial Agri, Damien and Francis down there, and also we had to go to the UK for a few bits as well. So this non-return valve here had given up the ghost and was sort of plumbed differently, and also a brand new regulator has been fitted, and all new PCLs. So we now have 3, and this one is direct. Whatever's in the tank is coming out there at that end, and this one is fully regulated. So this compressor has been sort of tested a few times today, and the pressure we left it at several hours ago is still in the tank, so very happy with it. So it's all new gauges. Hopefully it'll focus there. All new gauges. That's been sitting there since about 5 hours today. So everything else is running. There's oil in the pump, belt is tight, cage is fitted, and I'm very happy now that we can actually paint and use air tools with and this has got a much higher CFM number than the little one. So now I can paint without the compressor running flat out trying to keep up with me. I have a bit of headroom with this one. So just a little update on making sure we have the right equipment to do the job, because it's quite important if we're working on something this big. This evening we've had a really rough weekend with wind, so we're not really able to get onto the boat much. So I'm spending some time in the workshop doing some bits and pieces amongst fixing power tools and compressors and all kinds of things that we need to do. So tonight or this evening I'm going to, these are the rudder tiller arms. There are 2 of them here. I'm going to get these into the shot. I need to be down here. And this is the collet that will sit on top of the rudder, which we've already test fitted, and it works perfectly. One thing to remember in this is it's a tapered collar, so I need to make sure that when I do weld this the way I want it, that this needs to be on top. So we'll actually be marking that with top, just to make sure that we know exactly what's happening. So I need to find the centre of here on the front where I'm going to drill a hole to be able to mount the tiller arm into its position. And there's the ram there, ready to go. That'll, this end, go on here. This will mount it into the boat, and this will move the rudder over and back. So my primary concern here is the fact that I need to allow for a washer to sit between here and here, or this piece here is actually too thick, so I need to put spacers in here with some nice stainless washers. So I want to drill a hole through the centre of this, and the easiest way I can do that is I need to find the centre line of this. So I have checked some measurements already, but probably the simplest way to do it is just to set up parallel lines along the two angles. I hope you can see this. And I'm literally just marking this with a biro, but I can see the line underneath. It mightn't show up on the camera. I'm just getting it right on the edge here. And right there. Now I've measured this already and it's 70. So if I space just on the point here 70 millimeters evenly, mark it at 35, and straight up the middle, and that looks pretty much perfect. Now the radius of this is 50, there it is, so if it's made 25. Now the diameter, I did say radius, 125 there, and then we will, everything's full of magnetics. And that is our centre line. I'll bring it in closer, so you can see it, and the two intersecting lines down here. Don't know if the light's going to catch that. So I have to do that twice, and then I'm going to drill them out to 12. These are the bolts we're going to use. They're we actually had these. We don't need a thread here, we need this as a pin, so it's going to take a circlip through it. And I'm building two. There's a very funny story about rudder pins, and one of them going missing about 25 years ago. On a boat I was skippering and couldn't be found till the whole seating, back seating was taken out. So Shibumi will have one fitted properly, and it'll have one mounted beside in the boat itself, beside, and it'll be there forevermore, and should we ever need a spare pin, we have one. So just to mark this one up and get on with it. Perfect fit. So here we have the tiller now finally finished. I've plenty, I'll turn this sideways, plenty wiggle room in there to allow for full movement. This fat piece here where it threads in fits in there perfectly. That's only a temporary, that's the right nut, but that's only a regular bolt. It's not a pin. And there it is. So you can only weld so far on the insides. Beautifully welded all around. Tidy all those up on that side and have it the right way around. I'm still a bit warm, so I'll drop it onto the rudder. Excuse the wobbly camera work. You can see the key going in now, even if we go out this way. And there it is. And excuse the fact that it's tilted, but there's the straight line, so it's exactly right. There's a spare one, so we'll mount that near where this is situated. That's all fitting perfectly. Welds are all finished. I'm going to leave all those proud. That's tidied up there. So that's the tiller arm for Shibumi Build.